I know that right now the majority of boxing fans want to see what's going to happen between Fury versus Deontay Wilder. They're expecting that fight to be made, right? They're expecting this rematch to happen. And I understand why they want it to happen. It's because how competitive the first fight was. Many people felt that Fury won, so they want this fight to happen, this rematch. But I was thinking, like, if this rematch doesn't happen and these guys don't fight next, it might not actually be a bad thing, and I'll explain why. This is why. Let's say the rematch happens, right? And let's say it happens, I don't know, sometime in May, June, and let's say Tyson Fury beats Deontay Wilder. Because going into this rematch, I'm not, in the first fight, I was picking Deontay Wilder to win. Just because I felt Tyson Fury was, his inactivity. I knew Tyson Fury was the better fighter, but his inactivity was the biggest reason why I didn't feel he was going to beat Tyson Fury. He was going to beat Deontay Wilder. Inactivity plays a big part, in many fights. So I was like, okay, there's no way he could come back, fight two bums after 3 years off, and beat Wilder, who's very active. But he surprised me, and he went in there and gave Deontay Wilder a boxing lesson, right? So he surprised me. So in the rematch, if they fight in the rematch, I'm not as confident in Deontay Wilder winning as I was in the first fight. Matter of fact, now I look at it more like a 60-40 type of thing. Like, I look at it like 60, like there's a 60% chance of Tyson Fury winning and a 40% chance of Deontay Wilder winning. While in the first fight, I was like, there's a 30% chance of Tyson Fury winning and the 70% chance of Deontay Wilder winning, if that makes sense. Because now, after seeing how well Tyson Fury performed against Deontay Wilder, I don't look at that as an easy fight for Wilder at all. I look at it as a fight that if Wilder does not knock him out, he will lose. Because if that fight plays out any way, shape, or form the way that it did in the first fight, he's not going to win because he can't win rounds against Tyson Fury. So let's say this fight goes 12 rounds and he can't win a single round against him, he's going to lose. All right, so here's the thing. This is why I think that it's actually it wouldn't be a bad thing if they didn't fight. Because let's say they fought in the rematch, and let's say Tyson Fury beats him, right? Well, guess what? I would imagine that there would be a rematch clause, right? Because there's no way that Tyson Fury is going to beat Deontay Wilder and not have a rematch clause, right? I don't think that Deontay Wilder's team won't, make a rematch clause, right? So let's say he beats Tyson Fury. Well, guess what? Now he has to rematch him. You know what that means? That means there's still not going to be no undisputed fight between Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua. Because if Tyson Fury were to beat Deontay Wilder, obviously everybody will be saying, okay, let's see Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. For the unification fight. All British showdown, undisputed at heavyweight. Let's see that fight. Tyson Fury would be forced to face Deontay Wilder, fight for a rematch. That's going to make us wait another 6 months. And if that happens, well, Wilder and Fury would fight again later on this year, at the end of the year. And guess what? That means for the year 2019, there will be no undisputed heavyweight champion at heavyweight because they would never get to fight. Right? I believe that because obviously there's probably a rematch clause for Anthony Joshua versus Jarrell Miller, but I believe there's more of a chance of Tyson Fury pulling off the upset against against Deontay Wilder than Jarrell Miller pulling off the upset against Anthony Joshua. Because people might say, well, Jarrell Miller could also beat Anthony Joshua, and then he would be forced to fight Anthony Joshua in the rematch. But and that would obviously prolong the undisputed unification fight at heavyweight for him, right? But obviously, like I told you, I think there's a less chance of Jarrell Miller beating Joshua than Tyson Fury beating Deontay Wilder. Okay, so again, maybe that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it might be a good thing if this fight doesn't happen, because if it doesn't happen next, then Deontay Wilder is probably going to fight another guy Because remember, Tyson Fury has a 5-fight deal with ESPN. So he could fight 5 dudes, and none of those dudes have to be Deontay Wilder. None of those dudes have to be Deontay Wilder. So it's not like he could fight one dude and then fight Deontay Wilder immediately. He could fight 5 dudes, and none of them have to be Deontay Wilder. So next, let's just say Tyson Fury could fight. Let's say the fight doesn't get made, and let's say next he fights Kurab Pulev on ESPN. And then let's say Deontay Wilder next, because that fight didn't get made, I don't know, he fights Dominic Brazil or Adam Kornacki. And let's say he gets past that dude, or Brazil or Kornacki. And then let's say Anthony Joshua gets past, what's his name? Jarrell Big Baby Miller. Well, now Anthony Joshua is free to fight Deontay Wilder, and now Deontay Wilder is free to fight Anthony Joshua because there's no rematch clause, because Deontay Wilder didn't face Tyson Fury and he didn't lose to him, and also his stock hasn't dropped, because since he hasn't lost to Tyson Fury, his stock, people are still interested in watching Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua, and then they could fight, right? Meanwhile, Fury could still fight 4 other opponents, because like I said, with his ESPN deal, he could fight any heavyweight. It doesn't have to be Wilder, right? Because with this deal, he'll still get paid regardless, right? So then we could maybe see later on this year Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder, right? Instead of having to wait for Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury, the trilogy, right? Now, obviously, this is all just if Tyson Fury beats Deontay Wilder. Because obviously, if this fight does get made, and if Deontay Wilder manages to knock out Tyson Fury and beat him, then obviously that just erases this whole logic that I told you, because then Deontay Wilder would be free. But again, I'm not 100% certain he's going to win. This is why I'm thinking maybe it's not such a bad thing that Deontay Wilder doesn't fight Tyson Fury next. The only bad thing about it would be if he voluntarily defended his belt against a guy that we didn't hear of, we never heard of, right? That's the only way it would be like a fucking shit, like a shot in the foot, because obviously we want to see Wilder in there again with competitive fights with guys that we look at like credible heavyweights or credible contenders, or guys who are worthy to challenge, right? Or basically a guy who would give him a test or a challenge. That's what we want to see. We don't want to see him in there against a guy that, struggled against a top 50 heavyweight, right? So, yeah, that's all I have to say, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'm out. Subscribe, guys, and bye-bye.